Welcome to Innerji, Tarot Tea Astrology and all things metaphysical. Hi, I'm Lesley, the Metaphysical Crone. Well, we have the full moon in Taurus occurring exact at 7:59 p.m. That's Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, and that's occurring this Friday, the 19th of November 2021. However, the energy of the full moon can be called upon in the lead up to and following the exact moment of the full moon for any rituals, meditations, contemplations that you wish to do. Now, any full moon is a point of culmination. It's where things reach a peak. It's a time when the moon is fully enlightened as it completely reflects the light of the sun. So the moon's energy is also generally at its peak, where emotions and awareness can more easily come to the surface. When the moon is full, it means that the sun and the moon are on opposite ends of the sky. They're opposite each other. Astrologically, this means that while the moon is in Taurus, the sun is in Scorpio. Now, when things are in opposition, there's kind of a level of tension. There's a bit of a push-pull between these two extremes. So this full moon is the opposing energies of safety, security, love relationships, finances, and practicality with that Taurus energy versus the intense, secretive, and internalized energies of Scorpio. And that's around relationships, other people's money, other people's stuff. And those two oppositions with the moon in Taurus and the sun in Scorpio can create some tension. Now, the good thing about the moon in Taurus is that it's exalted. This means that the moon is an extremely happy guest here, and the energy, therefore, is very, very powerful. Now, this full moon is also additionally strong if you were born with your moon, sun, or Venus in Taurus, because Venus rules Taurus. Taurus also has a negative polarity, which makes the full moon energy extremely receptive, and Taurus, as I mentioned, is ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, art, and believe it or not, it also rules money. This means that this is an exceptionally good time to reflect on your relationship with your partner for the long term, or maybe what type of relationship you would like to have in your life if you're single. It's also a good time to look back and review your finances, to see what has been working for you and what hasn't been working. This is less about the actual amount of money that you have or money coming in or going out. It's more about the security that having money can bring for you. Taurus also has the energy of fixed earth. So for this moon, it is about grounding and expressing your emotions in more practical ways. For example, giving a beautiful bunch of flowers to someone you love. This is also the energy of patience, and yes, it's also an energy that can be quite stubborn and quite resistant to change. However, it's also the energy of all the sensual delights, whether it be food or a comfortable living environment surrounded by beautiful things, just as a couple of examples. Taurus energy is slow and sensual. This is an energy of fully enjoying the present moment and can at times appear lazy, whilst we have the energy of Scorpio, which is extremely intense when it comes to love relationships and money, particularly other people's money. Now, this can create tension between your own emotional needs of comfort and security and others' emotional needs of intensity within relationships. We also have the second and last partial lunar eclipse for 2021. Partial lunar eclipses happen when the Earth is between the sun and the moon. And so the Earth casts a shadow which prevents a portion of the sun's light from reaching the moon. Now, this can only happen when there is a full moon. The interesting thing about a lunar eclipse is its effects can last for up to 6 months. Now, this lunar eclipse is the longest partial eclipse that we've experienced since the year, would you believe, 1440? Yes, the 15th century. And this one lasts for 3 hours and 22 minutes. And it is my understanding that it can be seen from Australia. The actual lunar eclipse begins at 6:19 p.m, that's Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, and ends at 9:47 p.m. The maximum or the peak of the eclipse occurs at 8:03 p.m, and the moon will be covered by about 90%. So there'll only be a little sliver of the moon showing. Now, eclipses, what do they bring? They bring change. They can be quite dramatic. They can be transformative. And this lunar eclipse dramatically adds to the already powerful energy of this exalted full moon in Taurus. So how can you use this energy? Well, you can ground and center yourself. It's also a good time to review what is important for you when it comes to your values, relationships, finances, safety and security, and then be prepared to make any necessary changes. It's also a good time to use this energy to acknowledge the practical things in your life that you need to release, let go of now. For example, habits that no longer serve you, those impulse purchase, guilty, overindulgence, resisting change, to name but a few. It's really not the time to sit back, but to look more closely at your needs in very practical terms, especially your emotional needs, and taking the time to balance your needs with those of others around you. This full moon in Taurus, being a partial lunar eclipse, brings you the energy of paying attention and taking the time to recognize the changes that you need to make in order to move forward positively over the next 6 months. Look, I do hope this has been of help. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at some crystals and some essential oils that might support you during this Taurus full moon and partial lunar eclipse. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started with that. So here are the crystals that I've chosen for this full moon in Taurus and partial lunar eclipse. So I'll go through them one by one. You don't have to use all of these, and there may be other crystals that you might feel more intuitively drawn to using, but I've chosen these ones for specific reasons. So let's go through them. So let's start off with Moonstone. It is a full moon. Now, normally for a full moon, I would use a rainbow moonstone or a normal moonstone, but because this is a lunar eclipse and the light of the moon is not going to be seen as clearly because the earth is casting a shadow blocking the sun's light, I've chosen to use black moonstone. Black moonstone is also one that I use for a new moon, or if when the moon is void, of course, I don't do any rituals then, but if I just want to have a stone that represents it, then I would choose black moonstone. If you don't stone at all, another wonderful crystal that you can use is selenite. I really like this one because you can see all the phases of the moon carved, and I love the pentacle on there as well. I'll just turn it to the blank side. So selenite is also known as Saturn's spar. Look at the reflection of that. It does look like a silvery moon, doesn't it? So that's another crystal that you can use that can help you connect with that full moon energy, help you connect with that divine feminine goddess energy. It is light, it is silvery, but it is deep. I don't know how to explain it any other way. A strong connection to the moon energy when she's at her full moon peak. Now, other crystals that I've chosen, the first one I've chosen is emerald. Emerald is actually the traditional birthstone of Taurus as well, and this is a raw emerald. So this is a particularly good stone or good crystal for people who are born with Sun in Taurus, Moon in Taurus, or have their Venus in Taurus. And it's really appropriate for bringing prosperity into your life as well. This is raw. It's hard to believe it's actually emerald, isn't it? But it is a raw emerald. I actually have an emerald ring. I'll just take it off and show you. And of course, this is a polished cut emerald set in diamonds. That's what it looks like when it's polished. And this is what it looks like when it's raw. So emerald, great for this full moon in terms of looking at your finances, looking at what you value, looking at abundance. Great stone for that. The other stone or crystal that I've chosen is sodalite. This is a sodalite sphere. Now, this full moon is about communication in relationships. And because we have a full moon, it's a partial lunar eclipse, and so there's tension there. There's opportunity for disharmony. There is opportunity for, unfortunately, things being taken the wrong way. So this sodalite is great for clear thinking on your part and clear communication as well. Also looks a bit like the Earth, doesn't it, if you're looking at the Earth from space. Now, Taurian energy is very sensual, it's very loving and very tactile. So for this reason, I have chosen rose quartz, and what more appropriate than my giant rose quartz heart? Because Taurian energy is very sharing through touch. They love cuddles. They love tactile contact in relationships, in their loving relationships. And they have a huge, generous heart. It may not appear like it a lot of the time, but when it comes to love, they're very generous with their heart. So that's why I've chosen rose quartz. It's also a beautiful, soft, feminine energy, and it represents love in all its forms. It's unconditional. And so it marries up very well with Taurian energy and with the moon energy, and of course with Venus, the planet of love that rules Taurus. Now, the other stone that I've chosen, or crystal, is carnelian. This is an orange carnelian. And I've chosen this for our lovely Taurian energy because it brings courage and confidence, and it helps people to take action. Taurian energy can be quite immovable at times, can be quite stubborn, and it can be hard for Taurian energy to actually get started because it's fixed earth. So it's hard for them to get started in taking action. So that's why with this full moon in Taurus, if you're feeling a bit stuck, carnelian is a great crystal to get you going, to get things started, to take action, but also to improve confidence and courage. And the final stone I've chosen is black tourmaline. Black tourmaline is going to give additional grounding, additional strength. I mean, Taurus being an earth sign, being earth energy, is already very grounded and very practical and very solid. But, you know, with a full moon, that's when things can get a little bit out of kilter. And then with that partial lunar eclipse of change and transformation, being a little bit extra grounded is really important. And also black tourmaline is great for protection as well. So if you're feeling a bit vulnerable during this full moon, black tourmaline can be of help. Now, you can use these crystals in many different ways. You can meditate with them. You might be drawn to just one crystal that you want to meditate with during this full moon in Taurus and partial lunar eclipse. Or you might like to create a grid. I do create my grids mainly through intuition. Understanding a bit of the geometry, sacred geometry is helpful, but it's not necessary. So we've got the full moon in Taurus and a partial lunar eclipse. So I'm going to put the heart in the center of my grid because I feel everything is coming from the heart, coming from a positive heart, a positive space, a generous heart. Above it, I'm going to place the sodalite, and that's going to represent that through the heart, clear thinking, clear communication can occur, but it's a soft communication, it's a heartfelt communication if that is what is needed. I'm then going to place I'm going to use the selenite actually for the full moon representation. And that's saying to me that, you know, in our grid, that regardless of whether we can see the light of the moon or not, her energy is there, and we can draw down her energy into our communication and into our heart, into our chakras. Then I'm going to place the carnelian next, just at the point of the heart. So you can see that intuitively I'm kind of bringing a line down from the moon. And so this is going to be placed, and if I was putting this on a chakra, even though it's orange, I'd probably place it more on the solar plexus chakra for courage, for confidence, you know, for really standing in your own power and your own identity. So that's why I'm placing it there. The next one I'm going to choose is I'm going to have the raw emerald next. And yet I really want to create a downward flow from the moon. And so here this emerald is going to reflect bringing in abundance, bringing in prosperity, but also taking time to contemplate what it is that we truly value and truly need. And then finally, at the base, I'm going to put the black tourmaline for bringing down the moon's energy, for clear thinking, clear communication, that it comes from a soft and gentle heart, but it comes with courage and confidence and the ability to take action when needed. And then that is to draw down abundance, look at our values, see what we need to attract to us, but bringing it right down into the earth in a practical way. So that is how I'm using my grid of crystals for this full moon in Taurus. For me personally, I will probably sit and meditate upon this particular grid, and I will meditate on what are my values, what is important to me in relationships, what is it that I need to communicate, and what action do I need to take with confidence, what action do I need to take with courage. So that is how I'm going to use it. Now, of course, as well as crystals, we can use essential oils for support. So let's have a look at the essential oils I've chosen for this full moon in Taurus. So here are the essential oils that I've chosen for this full moon in Taurus and this partial lunar eclipse. I've chosen 5 oils, and the reason I've chosen 5 oils is 5 for me is the number of change. It can be the number of chaos, and when we have these partial or full lunar eclipses, this one's a partial, it does create turbulence, chaos, and it does create change and the need for change and transformation. So hence the number 5. Now the 5 oils I've chosen are lemon. Lemon is an oil that's associated with the moon, but it also brings focus and clarity. And so if we're going to be contemplating our values, what's important to us in relationships, looking at our finances and abundance for this full moon in Taurus, then lemon is a wonderful oil to begin with, and it also connects us to the moon. The next one I've chosen is patchouli. Now, patchouli was very popular in the 60s. It was the oil of the flower child and the hippie. And I think it's still kind of thought that way by many, many people. But it's a very esoteric oil. And it's also great for bringing in love, peace. It brings wisdom. And it helps to open up to repel any negative vibrations, and also just to let go of apprehension, which can happen during this particular full moon when we're looking at the partial lunar eclipse with change and transformation. And patchouli is a good reminder that, you know, while every day might not be the best, it is about tomorrow being better. And so when you take the time to review, then you can let go of the negative, repel the negative, and look forward in a more positive way. The other oil I've chosen is Vetiver. Now, Vetiver is one of those oils you either love it or hate it. It has a very musty soil, rich aroma, and it's one I particularly love, but I know a lot of people smell it and go, oh no, but it is an amazing oil when you blend it with other oils as well. And this is really good for concentration. Vetiver is a very grounding oil. It brings you right down into your root chakra and into the earth star chakra and helps you stay grounded, keeping your feet firmly planted on the earth. And with Taurus being a fixed earth sign, and with this partial lunar eclipse, this extra grounding, as I mentioned before, is really needed. The other oil I've chosen is Ylang Ylang. Oh, what a beautiful floral sweet oil. But you know what? This is an oil that's got a bit of a sensual kick to it. And Taurian energy is very sensual, as I mentioned. It's very touchy-feely, you know, massage and hugs and all that kind of thing. So to bring in that sort of sensuality to the surface, to just bring in from the heart, Ylang Ylang is a lovely oil to include. And the final oil that I've chosen is orange. Sweet orange oil is joyful, it's uplifting, it's about opening you up to opportunities. And so I felt that just needed to lift the grounding aspect. It needed to lift this review that we're doing to look at the future from a joyful perspective. So let's blend them and see. So I'm going to start off with the vetiver, and I'm going to place, you don't need to use a lot, and this is a blend that I'm creating that can be used in an oil burner or an oil diffuser. So this is not going to be diluted in a vegetable oil. And of course, you never ever put oils directly onto your skin undiluted, and you never ever drink them, take them internally unless you are prescribed by a properly qualified aromatherapist. Now, I am a qualified aromatherapist, but I've not done that additional training for ingestion, so I will never recommend that you ingest oils. So I always like to take a little sniff first, and then I'm using my amethyst mixing bowl to bring in a bit of spiritual energy and a bit of healing. And I'm going to start off with a couple of drops. And this is quite a viscous, in other words, quite a thick oil. So you might see my camera shaking a little bit to encourage the couple of drops to come out. It's quite a brown looking oil, so even the look of it is earthy. And I find with this oil, if it doesn't come out easily, that's okay, because I have my trusty scissors to pop the drippolator off. I don't usually recommend people do this, but because this oil is quite viscous, and I actually have had this one for quite a while, this one has quite a long shelf life. Right, there we go. And I'm just going to use my drippolator because I like to make sure that I don't overdo it with oils. When it comes to essential oils, less is more. So I'll just use my little pipette. Now you can see how brown and earthy that oil is. So I'm going to put just 2 drops to start with in there. I'm just going to leave that off for the moment in case I want to add some more. The next oil I'm going to add is patchouli. Now, if we're looking at this in terms of perfume, vetiver is a base note. We have in perfume, we have base, middle notes, and top notes. The top notes are the ones that you smell first in a perfume. They evaporate the most quickly. And then we have the middle note, which is like your heart of your perfume. And then we have the base note, which is sort of kind of the earthy, kind of the last that you would smell. So I'm starting off with the more earthy ones. Now I'm going to go to patchouli. So patchouli has quite an earthy smell as well, but not as heavy as the vetiver. So let's add a couple of drops of patchouli and see that's more of a golden colour. And as I'm blending, I like to smell as I go. So I've got a couple in there, and I'm just going to give my bowl a little shake and have a sniff. Oh, nice and earthy. My feet are definitely on the ground when I smell that. Next, I am going to go to the Ylang Ylang, add a bit of sensuality, a bit of love, and we're adding this floral. So I'm just going to do a couple of drops. So remember, with essential oils, you don't need a lot. This is quite a clear coloured oil. Oh, we've got 3 in there, that's okay, meant to be. And then we'll just give it a little swish. So that Ylang Ylang oil added to the vetiver and patchouli really lifts it. There's still that earthy undertone there, but the Ylang Ylang really lifts it up. Now we're going to add the sweet orange. And I'm going to add 2 drops of sweet orange. So this is a vitalizing oil. Here we go. A happy oil. I like to use orange at Christmas time. And we'll just give that a little swirl and see. Now the Ylang Ylang and the orange have blended beautifully together, and then we've still got that undertone of earthiness with the vetiver and patchouli. And the last one I'm going to add is a little drop of lemon. I'm going to just add 1 drop of lemon. Lemon has quite a sharp aroma, and so I'm just going to add 1 drop for now, give it a little swirl and see how it's blending to see whether I need to add a little more or not. So 1 drop of lemon. Sometimes I'll give the bottle a little tap to get things going. They can be quite shy, essential oils, sometimes. There we go. Oh, 2 drops snuck in. That's okay. We'll give that a little swirl. And let's see how it smells. Yeah, the lemon has really changed the aroma completely now. So I feel that we just need a little extra orange, a little bit of extra joy in there. So I'm going to add 1 more drop of orange. Now, when it comes to blending, there's no true right or wrong in terms of what you're creating. And obviously, when it comes to putting this blend into your oil burner, you only need about 4 to 6 drops, depending on the size of your oil burner. Ah, that's what it needed, just that 1 extra drop of orange. So as I inhale this, I'm actually smelling a completely new oil, a completely new aroma, with all of the other oils blending together really nicely. Now, if I let this sit for a while, it's a bit like a fine wine. It will continue to mature so that the aroma will continue to sort of keep blending and melding. So I'm going to be letting that sit until I am ready to put it in my oil diffuser when I do my full moon in Taurus, partial lunar eclipse. That's a mouthful, isn't it? But when I do my meditation contemplation, I will be burning this oil in my oil diffuser whilst I am gazing softly at my crystal grid that I've created and see what messages come through for me. I hope if you do something similar that you will find that this is helpful for you and that you will receive the information and messages that you need as we connect and commune with the divine feminine that is the full moon. Until next time, many blessings to you.